A chill has fallen in the year. Darkness is presently near. Pumpkins and goblins are everywhere seen. Don't you know? It's Halloween! 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 If you haven't guessed yet, October is my favorite month in the year because it holds my favorite holiday in the year, Halloween! The time when it gets a little eerie and spooky out, when we decorate our homes in the mischievous and the macabre and set out jack-o'-lanterns. When our viewing entertainment gets a touch of darkness in them, when we tell ghost stories, go to haunted houses, bob for apples and such, when we send our children off into the world to collect candy from their neighbors with the code phrase trick or treat. It's like one big worldwide gothic-themed costume party. I love this time of year. I love Halloween! Okay, I gotta get some control here. But I'm just excited. I love everything about this holiday. I love that we get decked out to get that little bit of spooky out of us. I love that we offer our trust into our neighbors, people that we don't interact with nowadays, even though we should, and let them give candy to our children. I love that this holiday, more than any other, by my own observation, brings nearly everyone as a community together. And I love that, for a moment, we can be creepy and scary and spooky and can all be in the name of good fun. Of course, there are those who don't wish to observe this holiday, but hey, I'm not going to let them spoil my joy. I'm going to enjoy this time and all the craziness it evokes. So naturally, I do have some things planned for Penguins Rock Productions on this very festive time of the year. Honestly, I kind of wanted to start last week, but hey, I converted this from a weekly vlog to a bi-weekly one for a reason. The stress of keeping up with it was getting way too high. However, I am going to attempt to cram as much as I can into the next couple of weeks. Let's start by talking about one of my absolute favorite things about this time of year, television specials. There's nothing better in this world, in my opinion, than a Halloween-themed television episode. It is that one moment when typical television programming gets a little darker in theme. Whether a ghost is haunting the otherwise normal residents of the characters in a lighthearted family show, or someone sinister is stalking the main characters in a hilarious sitcom. The Halloween special takes that one step beyond the normal and mundane, and they never did better than they did in the Waltons. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, The Waltons is a family drama which aired from 1972 to 1981. The best way I can describe the show is as a period piece Brady Bunch enduring the Great Depression and World War II. It's a very down-to-earth show, grounded in reality and mostly espousing themes of family life, Christian values, social tolerance, etc., ad nauseum. Typical family television fare of the 1970s. Now, there are a few episodes that can leave you with chills down your spine, very few, and I'm more than certain they're all Halloween specials, but the one that lasts in my mind that stands as the best of the best comes in the form of Season 7, Episode 6, titled The Changeling. In the context of this episode, Elizabeth Walton, portrayed by Cammie Cotler, the youngest of the Walton children, has just turned 13, but is very hesitant about the notion of growing up. As a result of this, strange occurrences start happening around her in the house. Chairs levitating, the piano playing by itself, the radio not working when she walks into a room, and quite possibly the thing that freaked me out the most, her Raggedy Ann doll developing a life of its own. Family friend Corey Beth Gotsey, portrayed by Ronnie Claire Edwards, suggests it might be a poltergeist, a malevolent spirit that violently terrorizes a household. Family matriarch Olivia, portrayed by Michael Learned, is initially skeptic, but slowly begins accepting the idea. It all comes to a head at the final confrontation when the poltergeist starts terrorizing the household at Elizabeth's slumber party. Now, spoiler alert coming up. If you want to watch the turnout rather than hearing it from me, stop this video now. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, initially, I saw this episode for the first time. My mind was trying to work out rationalizations as to what was really going on. I had two basic conclusions. One, someone was playing a very cruel joke on poor Elizabeth, possibly one of her siblings. Typical TV cliche, and it wouldn't be at all unheard of in the context of this show. The children do typically mess around with each other, playing pranks from time to time, and it's usually always in the name of sibling rivalry. 2. It was a dream. A horrible and nasty dream brought on by Elizabeth having to deal with the stress of growing up. Also, a typical TV cliche, and one that would be more acceptable in the 1970s. Probably not so much nowadays, but certainly one for back in the day. I was wrong on both accounts. It was a ghost. A violent and malevolent spirit was preying on poor Elizabeth throughout this entire episode, this entire time. They pulled a poltergeist in an episode of this down-to-earth, otherwise rational family drama. Think of what it would be like if Seventh Heaven suddenly gave us an episode of Stranger Things. This is that episode. The episode didn't jump the shark, it leaped tall buildings full of sharks in a single bound. What's more, I loved it! This is quite possibly my favorite episode of the Waltons by far. What drugs were television scriptwriters on back then anyway? Okay, it was the 1970s, so possibilities were kind of endless. But it's quite clear that, nowadays, they're in need of a fresh batch. I want a Halloween episode of House of Cards where Frank Underwood has to contend with the ghost of Abraham Lincoln for the night. By the way, if the plot synopsis sounds a little too familiar, like a certain Steven Spielberg and Tobe Hooper team-up of a classic horror movie, yeah, I caught that too. I have no doubt that this episode inspired the 1982 horror classic Poltergeist. The similarities certainly are uncanny there, and you know what? I love it all the more for that. I love that this otherwise normal television show, grounded in reality, possibly inspired one of my first horror movies. I'm Mike, this is Penguins Rock Productions, and the season has just begun.